And we
Yeah.
also don't need to be under a surveillance state. We don't need to be criminalizing homelessness. We need to not incarcerate people against their will for being homeless.
All right, folks, we're back. We are back with the Foolish Optimist podcast. I am your host, Amy McDonald. I hope everyone is having a great start to the new year. That feels redundant to say just a few days after the president took another president out of their own country. But our guest this week, I'm very, very excited. She's someone I look up to, and we do have Salt Lake City in the house, right? Tenille Taggart is a community-centered leader, organizer, and proud gay and gender fluid Utahn. Her work is grounded in mental health and well-being, criminal justice reform, housing justice, environmental protection, and investing in people and neighborhoods. Tenille is known for building real relationships across communities and believes government works best when it listens, leads with data, and puts human dignity at the center of every interaction. She is running for Salt Lake County Council at Large, and you can follow her on pretty much every social media at Tenille Taggart. Then you can check out her website at votefortenille.com. Hello, how are you?
I am so great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I so look up to you and I'm thrilled to be here. So thank you.
We start this podcast the same way every single time. Why did you decide to run? And maybe why. Let's start with why you decided to run, and then I'll ask the follow-up
Yeah,
questions. I stack questions. It's a bad habit.
I love it. So the short answer is really to make Utah a better place than when I grew up here. I grew up in a suburb about 20 minutes from Salt Lake City, and I was very conservative, traditional Republican, grew up Mormon, and my family was very patriotic. My dad was working for President Reagan when I was born. And so it's always been in my blood to love my country, and I could not wait to vote. I still feel that way. It's an honor and a privilege to participate in democracy and keep that alive. However, I didn't understand that I was gay and gender fluid. And that took me about half my life to figure that out. And once I did, I switched parties. I joined the Young Stonewall Den. I was in California at that time, so I started participating in Prop 8 for marriage equality. And I had just left Utah, and I'm like, what is the church doing in our business over here, dropping millions of dollars to prevent marriage equality? So that really shot me off into the other direction of politics. And I ended up going back to school there. I had been at BYU and was just miserable there. So I went to San Diego State and absolutely loved it, did psychology, and then went to a doctoral program in New York for 5 years doing clinical psychology, and then a year of internship in San Bernardino County, where I was providing forensic mental health. And really what I saw was this is just such a systemic issue, and we need people in the room where these decisions are being made to truly have an impact. And I wanted to start with preventative work as opposed to treating people after the fact. So during that internship, it was also during COVID, and I just didn't feel like I totally had a home anywhere anymore. And so I decided to come back to Utah after almost 2 decades and started getting plugged into the community here and doing candidate trainings and joining movements wherever I could to have an impact here. And I wasn't quite sure where it would lead, but now here I am running for office, and I am absolutely thrilled. I feel like this is my calling and I'm ready for it. Very long-winded answer.
No, but I think that's important for context. A lot of people, it's like one moment in time that this is why I decided to run for office. And then most people have answers more like yours, right? This is my life, and this is what I've learned, and this is why I have to do this right now. I would love to lean in a little bit more about, I have so many questions. Let's start with what forensic healthcare is. Can we start there?
Yes, absolutely. So I was involved in a program that worked with folks who were involved in the criminal justice system, who had received felonies, and that were also suffering from severe mental illness, so things like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and that this was a way to rehabilitate these folks so that if they completed an 18-month, 24-month program with us, doing therapy, doing casework, doing basic day-to-day living and really getting their lives back on track, staying sober. Most of them had substance or alcohol use problems as well. And so it was a whole treatment team of folks working with the county that were here to make these people's lives better and actually help them get out of the system. So if they completed that program, their felony would be reduced to a misdemeanor. And they just had so many supports and so many ways to help get out of it that you don't see everywhere. I found that very inspiring and rewarding. It was very difficult work.
Yeah.
And there were some folks who probably were not great candidates for the program that slipped in, but for the majority of folks, they were incredible people who had messed up, who had gotten high, who had made a bad decision in a moment. And we don't want to judge people at their worst moment. Just, I don't want to be judged for my worst moment. And that this is about helping people get back on their feet and being productive citizens again.
I mean, literally, like, there by the grace of God go I. And so many people that I know, like, I spent the majority of my adult life in New York. I know that I've done a lot of illegal things in my life, right? I know that I have the upper hand because I am a cute white lady. Frankly, that is part of our system. And that's also why I'm the person that talks to the police in my group of friends, because I'm the white lady. But, what you said is so true, and making sure that we're not penalizing everyone, like putting people in a box for the rest of their life because of one day or even a year of decisions, right? What, the average person lives to be 67, and I had a bad fucking year, therefore I'm now a felon forever, and I have issues getting apartments and jobs and things like. Yeah. And you mentioned the preventative care. We talk about this all the time in every single circle of politics. Preventative care for goddamn near everything is.
Yeah.
It's the answer. It's the fucking answer.
It is. And it's not the things that you may necessarily think of. So, for instance, one of the big issues that has happened with the Salt Lake County Council and that I've been involved in supporting is that it's a 5-4 Republican majority right now on the Salt Lake County Council. And they voted along party lines to cut affordable, accessible, safe daycare here in the county, 4 of them.
You said daycare?
And have left daycare. They don't want people to have daycares here. So
yeah,
they cut those, and they said it was under the guise of not raising property taxes. Well, they still raised property taxes and they cut the daycares. And what we don't understand is that those daycares provide this preventative measure that we're talking about. $1 spent on childcare ends up in like almost $8 of return, in that they're not using the criminal justice system later. They're not out causing trouble. They're not losing their life. They're not doing drugs. Like, we don't necessarily think about that. And yeah, maybe it saves people $5 a month on their property taxes, if that. But now women are being forced back into the home. Single parent families cannot afford daycare.
Right.
There's wait lists of years long. And these children potentially become like latchkey kids who are taking care of themselves and left to their own devices and not getting good care.
Right.
And being watched. And so we know all those kinds of things lead to what we were just talking about.
We talk about early childhood trauma a lot. And like, when you have good people watching your kids and they are stimulated and they're with other kids where they learn how to be social and all these things, I mean, that's goddamn near invaluable. And people all the time are like, I don't have a kid, so I don't want that. I'm like, I don't have kids either. Put all my money towards that.
Yeah.
All my money.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Okay. Understand it.
I can't fathom it. Like, I literally cannot wrap my fucking head around it, because children are the future of the United States. They're all of our children. That's literally how I look at it. And it's unbelievable. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. If you care about politics enough to listen to this podcast, you've probably felt the frustration of trying to navigate government. Who's your city council member? State, what district are you even in? It shouldn't be this hard. Luckily for us, there's Civic Politics, a free app that brings all your elected officials together in one place from City Hall to Congress. No more hunting across dozens of outdated government websites. Just download Civic Politics on the App Store or Google Play Store and finally have your representatives in the palm of your hand. Follow at civic.app on TikTok or civic.politics on Instagram to be the first to know about the latest features. So talk to me a little bit about this council and what you guys do. What do you do for Salt Lake County?
Yes. So Salt Lake County is invested in these things like childcare, aging and adult services, health and human services. They also do fantastic things like art, parks, libraries, all the things that make life worth living. And those are the things that I want to build up. This is the preventative care. When we have green spaces to take our kids to play in, when we have libraries where they can go and read the books that they want, these are those preventative measures that currently the county is spending 74 cents of every dollar on the criminal justice system. So that's the DA and the sheriff's department. And I'm just like, that is not where I want my tax dollars to go.
No.
And I don't think most people do. I want to start coming up with creative ways that we can get these funded. And with the current state of the administration and the cuts in funding, we are going to have to get really creative. That's one thing that I'm very invested in, is supporting those things that build thriving communities and that take care of our members. The other things that they do are really the budgets around this. So we have a say in how much the DA gets, how much the sheriff department gets. Mm-hmm. And looking at, can we use some older vehicles? Can we use some buildings that are not state of the art, right? Can we make do with some of the things we have? Yeah. And we also don't need to be under a surveillance state. We don't need to be criminalizing homelessness. We need to not incarcerate people against their will for being homeless. You know, right. I'm sure your listeners have heard about the homeless encampment that's also in an internment camp here that's looking to be built.
No, wait, rewind. Start that over, because something happened with your audio. I need to start over and tell me about this. Right. You said a homeless encampment.
It's a homeless encampment where they are saying they're going to incarcerate people against their will. And human rights advocates have been sounding the alarm, saying this is an internment or a concentration camp. And this is being heralded as one of Trump's first stops to explore what it could look like to incarcerate and hide away the undesirables. So it's very concerning. It would be here on basically a mosquito-infested bog over on the west side of Salt Lake, which is by the airport. It's out in the middle of nowhere. There's no public transportation. There's some significant concerns about this being built and then incarcerating people against their will. And
so it's your own. It's like your own alligator Alcatraz. I had not heard of that. Thank you for sharing. That's awful. And also, when we're talking about all this stuff, we're talking about these in terms of concentration camps, because that's what they are. People get upset when you say that, but like Germany,
it's reality.
Doesn't have a monopoly on the word concentration camp. The United States, we've done it before. We've done it before on our own soil with Japanese Americans during World War II. And yeah, it's happening again. It's just a place to concentrate people. And I will remind listeners that literally Dachau was not a work camp. It was not a death camp. It was not part of the final solution until much later when they opened it. You know what it was called? A deportation center for people who weren't supposed to be there. That's all they said. And Himmler brought press in and they saw it and they were like, wow, this is great. And they like dressed the inmates up for the day, made sure they had good looking food. And then the next day it was back to the hellish ordeal of that 1933. It was by March of 1933. It was very early. what would your relationship be to that? But that's a federal thing, right? But they obviously need to get all of the permissions. I say obviously, knowing that the one out in
Right.
California is definitely not gotten all of its permissions, but they're supposed to get permissions
They're supposed
from the
to.
county and the state.
Yeah. Technically, this is a Salt Lake City issue.
Okay.
And so I don't have any real direct influence as a Salt Lake County council member, other than speaking out, other than supporting the folks who are speaking out and voicing my deep concerns for this. There also is talk of a 10,000 person ICE detention warehouse. So again, right on those same lines, it begins with a detention center. They're very concerning. I mean, I'm going to continue to fight against those. Do I have any direct say in them and a vote in what happens?
Political sway, no. But
yeah,
you do have a say in them. Every single one of us has a sway in what happens, especially in our own backyards. And that is part of what got many people released from the Alligator Alcatraz Center. I say released, big air quotes released, since I'm not sure if we know where all of them are, even as
where
this
they are.
recording is happening right now on January 6th. I really love all of your ideas around these preventative measures. I think also, obviously, the economy is a really big fucking deal. So having places where people can go for free is sick. That's what people are always like, libraries, what's that? I'm like, it's a free place to go. My parents used to drag us to the library all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I nannied my sister's kids and we would go to the library all the time. And there's so many great free resources there. I still go to the library. I love it so much.
I'm a library kid who became a library adult. And, it's such, I found out that my parents' library, my parents' public library, that you can rent out musical instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can rent sewing machines. You can use Cricut cutters. You can convert a VHS or 8-track tape to electronic for free. It is wild the amount of stuff you can rent and do at the library for free.
Children of VHS. It was, we had these big boxes. They were called VCRs, and you got a littler box that you put inside the big box, and it played movies, and it was great. It was a good time until you were trying to watch a movie and your sibling didn't rewind it, or the person at the library ahead of you didn't rewind it, and then you had to sit there, or you had to press rewind and run out of the room so you didn't watch the movie in reverse.
Right?
Libraries are unfucking believable. And, realistically, what do you think some of your challenges are going to be in this county at large position, right? You said right now it's 5-4. So is everyone up for election? Talk to me about the election process.
Yes.
Special first at-large seat.
This is the at-large seat, meaning the whole entire county can vote on it.
Cool.
There's also the District 1 seat that's open, and I ran for that in the special election in June, and my friend Gito Johnson won that. And so he immediately turned around and endorsed me, and now he's running for re-election too.
Okay.
So District 1 is very progressive. We don't even think anyone's going to run against him, so he looks pretty safe. There are 2 other seats that are open, both held by Republicans right now, that are in districts that are pretty conservative for the Salt Lake area.
Okay.
However, these are folks that they truly had no idea how badly the childcare decision was going to go for them. I've done videos on this that have gone viral, and these videos have gone viral. And my whole intention in why I'm on social media and why I speak out about the things I do is that if I can help or change one person's mind, then it's worth it to me. And that's how I built this following. And so when I talk about these topics that are important to me, like why is childcare something that we need to fund as a community? And it resonates with a whole lot of people. They've made comments like that are very out of touch with what the average Salt Laker is dealing with, especially for young working families who can't afford homes. They're living with their parents. They're living really far from where they're working. They're making a lot of concessions to be able to live and work. The big buzzword is affordability. Nobody can buy a house here. What are they going to do now that their childcare is taken away and they got to come up with $1,400 more dollars?
I was gonna say, isn't it like every month
to daycare?
Yeah.
Like it's insane. So
I just don't understand how this is a hot button ticket. Don't
Right?
understand why we have to argue about taking care of the children.
The children.
Yeah.
Yet Utah and their predominant religion continues to say, have more babies.
That's
have
true.
more babies.
The Mormon religion
And then we
is
aren't supporting them.
Yeah, they're very much. There is a very specific vibe around Mormons on the internet. Like, you can kind of tell when they're Mormon, and then they show their family, and you're like, oh, you have 8 kids. You're definitely, it's got to be, right? It's either that or hyper super Catholic, but probably at this point in time, Mormon.
I come from a family of 8 kids. So I grew up very poor. We were on reduced lunch. We wouldn't have made it if we didn't have help from the church.
Yeah.
I pretty much have not had health insurance most of my life.
Right.
I know what it's like to be poor. I also know what it's like to be ostracized in a place that does not support who you are. And, that's another reason why I'm running, is because I want those little kids like me who never knew an out LGBTQ person to be in those positions to say, I could be like that, or I could do that, or I see myself in that. And that's why I live so out and proud in my day-to-day life as well. Really, I would say, to go back to your original question, what are some of the problems I perceive? Some of Salt Lake County is conservative, right? Like, there are still those diehards, and they were showing up to speak about the property tax increase, and people were like, cancel the art, cancel the libraries. And I'm like, how is this a real thought in people's head? That, for me, is hard to understand. Everything we do, down to constructing buildings and like city planning, it's all art.
Yeah. I mean, literally, restaurants are art. Like, food is art. Like, it's the thing that makes you smile. The thing that makes you smile is fucking art.
We go to the movies to check out. We spend time and money on art because it gives us hope and it makes us feel optimistic, and it's really what carries us through. And if we were to cut that out, I mean, I can't imagine a life like that, not to mention no more libraries. I mean, that's the foundation of who we are. We need to learn more information, to grow, to change, to be better
makes
people.
Humans different than animals.
Like
the fact that we have the curiosity and we can seek out what we would like to learn. Not scientific, I know, but like, that's in my mind one of the big differences. We've also seen what has happened when we cut out arts, right? Like, with No Child Left Behind, we've been there almost for 25 years now, and a lot of schools had art got cut out, and like, we're churning out people. We're churning out graduates who are less well-rounded adults. They basically say that if you go to an art museum, it's almost the same, like, change in your brain matter as it is to traveling, right? You don't have to actually travel, but if you go to a place that shows you things that are new and different that you've never seen before, your brain will literally change. And I just find that it's like just all by design, in my opinion, to make us a little less critical thinkers and a little bit more followers.
Absolutely. When we live in stimulating environments, it changes our whole life. It invigorates us. And we see that even with rats, where if they are put in a stimulating environment and given the option to drink cocaine water, they don't, because they live in a stimulating enough environment. If they live in one that is not stimulating, that's all they want to do. Hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me. And people are no different. So when all the good things of life are taken away, when we can't afford them, and we're living on scraps, and nothing is teaching us anything new or novel or interesting, then we get into drugs, we get into trouble, we get into things that are not ideal. So yeah, I agree.
So interesting. I was having this conversation with someone else where we were talking about how many people in the United States are on either they're on medications that is prescribed to them, or they're not on medications, or they're on medications not prescribed to them, or they're addicted to something. We talked about this. We talked about this exact same thing where it's life has gotten really hard and really like coarse. And, you know, in New York City, we saved our libraries. We got the funding for our libraries to stay, or they were just trying to shut them down for Sunday. But that's one weekend day that families go all the time, right? That's a fuck it, shut it down on a Thursday. Don't shut it down on a Saturday and a Sunday, you know, whatever. So we fought for the public libraries a lot. And it just makes me wonder like how much more our state and our local governments and even our federal government are going to try to push us to a brink or a breaking point.
Yeah. And I don't want to find that out. And that's why I'm running, because had there just been one vote difference on the county council, we still have childcare.
Yeah.
So now they've galvanized a whole group of parents that I'm working with. And I'm like, run for school board, run for state legislature, run for Senate. And I just was messaging with one of the parents today who I'm planning on filing. And I'm like, go. So this is not the end. I'm like, no matter what happens, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. And welcome. I had another parent who was like, I've been eligible to vote for 10 years, never have. I just registered. I'm like, oh, my heart.
Let's go.
Take it.
Yes.
Yeah. So even though it's not been the ideal consequence, many good things are coming out of it, and they're galvanizing a whole entire generation. Not to mention the parents of these parents are seeing what's going on, and they're like, oh, I don't agree with this. Why would you do this to my children? And then these children, no one's going to forget these things that they've done. So there are the 2 other seats open. So technically 3 Republican seats are open and 1 Democratic seat is open. He's running for re-election. My state, the conservative woman, is running for re-election, and then the other 2 are just stepping down, likely to go do something else. One of the gals who's been not running for re-election and has been fear-pointing this in canceling the daycare, worked for the government for the opposite families. And we're just like, how is this making any sense?
Yeah.
She's decimating new childcare and then pulling up the ladder behind her and saying, well, it's not a problem, as women are being shoved back into homes.
Who's your governor right now in Utah?
Governor Cox.
I'm like, why do I know who that is?
You know who it is. It's the guy who's been talking about Charlie Kirk.
Oh my God, yes.
He wished he wished it was an invader kind of thing. And
he wished it wasn't one of us. He wished it wasn't one. I was like, I can't believe it. And also just like the photo that comes up of him when you look him up it's like almost adorable. Like his head is just so shiny and it looks like he's got some good highlighter on his nose and like his lips are looking really cute.
So funny.
He's looking really adorable. But then
he does a great job of gaslighting. He likes to say, disagree better, and then he's the first one to throw stones. And he does it in a way that if you're not paying attention, it's totally easy to miss it and you think, oh, wow, what a great governor. He's talking about disagreeing better. But if you actually listen to what he's saying and you follow him, you're like, this is so messed up.
Those are the type of people that really worry me, right? Because we're talking about No Child Left Behind and what that means for generations of people, because it is 25 years. I mean, that's at least a generation. It really hits millennials in a big way and like all of Gen Z pretty much. But like when politicians sound really smart and they give a really good answer, a lot of people get really fooled very quickly because either they don't want to look more into it. They're like, I like this guy. It's fine, whatever. Or B, they just don't feel like they need to.
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of people think a lot of Utahns who are Republican call him a RHINO, a Republican in name only.
What?
Because
what do you mean?
He's not far right enough for them.
It's also why Charlie Kirk died. He was not far right enough either. People don't like when I say that, but I saw a video of Nick Fuentes and I was like, oh, that's it. That's the one. He did a long segment on Charlie Kirk and I was like, was like a week before he was
Yeah.
murdered. And I was like, I think that's the fucking video, dude. I think that's the one that like got this kid to do this. He's like railing against him constantly. But there was like one where it was just like very long. And it was like 10 days beforehand. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
a RHINO. I don't want to copy them, but they're so good at marketing. And I would love to call some of the Democrats that we have right now DINOs. It would catch on, but it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes. And there are some of those here in Utah. Like have you heard about the maps in Utah? There's a big deal going on, and the judicial branch is really holding strong and ruling in favor of what the people voted for. And so much praise to Judge Diana Gibson. She's holding the line, but we have now a opportunity to get a blue congressional seat. We're a plus 24 district here. We've got some DINOs in there that I'm like, no, we deserve better. We deserve a truly progressive candidate in here, and we can't be having someone who's playing both sides. So I don't know what's going to happen in that race yet, but it's very exciting. We'll have the first representation for that in about, 15 years or something.
Yeah.
And so it's been a long time overdue.
Yeah, that's the point of all of this gerrymandering, is to like, cut representation out, but also dishearten people, right? Because if it's been 15 years, then people are like, well, I'm not going to run. And that's really one of these things that people don't think about as it pertains to gerrymandering. Because everyone's like, oh, well, it's just people aren't going to show up because they'll never win. And I'm like, yeah, but people don't fucking run. Because running for office takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Government information shouldn't require a scavenger hunt. Luckily for us, Civic Politics is a free app that shows you all of your elected officials, city, state, federal, all in one place. Download it now on the App Store or in Google Play Store and have the information you need in the palm of your hand. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
And money. I know,
and money.
and money. It's been the greatest honor of my life, and I feel so proud and privileged to be able to do it. And it is nauseating me. It is a roller coaster. I personally never know when I'm going to wake up and be like, this is it. Like, I'm stoked for the day. And then other days when I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself on the front line? But it takes a lot to run for office, both physically, mentally, emotionally, financially.
Everything.
Yeah. I just paid almost $500 to simply file to run.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for an everyday candidate.
Yeah.
I do think there's a huge problem. Like, I'm committed to not taking corporate PAC money.
Taking corporate PAC money at the county level? I'm sure they are, right?
That's a good question. I imagine they are.
Well, so what I know is happening in other state level races, I don't know if it's happening in local races, but I'm honestly, I'm fucking sure they are. I bet you're.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Give me 1 second.
I was going to say, when I ran in the special election, one of the opponents was taking money from the energy company she worked for, which is
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's not a
I
guarantee particularly, but like,
oh, that's true. That's true.
But I'm also thinking about the design that's happened in Texas might be playing out in Utah. And I don't know if Governor Cox has enough political capital for this, but what's his name? Hot Wheels, Greg Abbott. He has his own super PAC. And he just doles out money to a bunch of people who are running at the state and the local level so that he gets people who are loyal to him.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if the governor
It would not surprise me one bit.
I'm going to want to figure that out. I'll figure that out after we get off here, but I will want to fact check. We're putting that in there for us.
I love that.
Yeah. But I've been calling it kind of like a downline of an MLM, especially from Trump to like Vance to these Republican governors, because then they have their own little lackeys in the state, right? And then the state reps have their own little lackeys at the county level who are fucking doing the daycare thing. And you're like, why the fuck are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense unless someone is telling you to fucking do this. Like, where's it coming from, lady?
I think we're going to find that out. There's been some things coming out that this woman asked that a couple of high school students who came and spoke at the council meeting and who work at the daycare. This woman said, I want you to punish them.
Punish them.
And just speaking out, using their First Amendment right. I'm no lawyer, but I believe that's illegal.
Well, especially if it's coming from your from your employer, right?
Your county inbox that's publicly available. Yes.
Fucking idiot. I'm sorry. Dude, I'm sorry. That's so dumb.
Crazy. I know, so crazy. And so I'm like, there's something going on here. The experts that they brought in were the literal for-profit friends of theirs in the daycare centers here in Utah. And they're like, yeah, they'll get hooked up with daycare just fine at our daycare. Right? Like,
the daycare thing is an interesting situation because it's happening. I'm sure,
everywhere.
first of all, the fact that Utah even had like public daycares, right, that were provided for by the county, it doesn't surprise me at all, right? Like you said, Utah's a very family-oriented state, and there's a lot of kids. But what's happening around the country is very similar, whether it's publicly funded or like private equity is coming in to buy it up. So what's happening in Maine is there's some private equity plays for daycare, and Susan Collins just got a massive check from Blackstone. So there might be.
That's not good.
There might be.
I mean,
it's only 4, but it might be like a proof point, right? Like for a larger state. I don't know. That's again. Also,
I think it's a national
fact check.
I think it's national. Like you've seen the Minnesota daycare issue come up. He's from here. I know him here in Utah. He's problematic. I don't even want to bring up his name.
Oh, yeah. No shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he worked at the behest of the White House and gets direct marching orders from there. And now this has cut daycare funding to all states. This is a Project 2025 going into Project 2026 issue. So I think what's happening here at the local level is happening at the national level.
Yeah.
And it's all just perfectly working together. And we are so stressed and so shocked and awed and so poor. It's like we can't even address all of those things.
We're struggling to even organize across the country. Realistically, is what's happening is like everyone is so tired and so stressed all the time that like can't even get on calls and can't even wrap their head around. And that's the point. Like you said, shock and awe is the point.
Taking away that hope and that optimism that something could be different. Because that's one of the things that I'm really invested in is getting people to vote, to speak up, to use their voice. That's how we make a difference. And people feel apathetic to that and they don't believe it. And so
there's so many people who are just
like chicken or the egg.
Yeah. So many people are like, oh no, we're cooked. And I'm like, if you say it one more time, I'm knock your teeth out because we're fucking not. Yeah. Not yet. Yeah. They want you to believe we're cooked. I want to make this abundantly clear. In the early days of authoritarian regimes, they want you to think that there's nothing you can fucking do. There are so many things you can fucking do. We would not be literally going to war with another country if there weren't so many things that the citizens of the United States can do. And I need everyone that listens to this to fucking know that. They want you to believe that things are set in stone, but in reality, if 5 things fall over, everything's fucking done. It is a house of cards. Rant over.
It is a house of cards. It is. And it's like very don't look behind the curtain. And once we can get enough people to believe that and keep showing up, it will fall. It will.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just historically, pretty much every other authoritarian regime in history needed more time than this they're moving rapidly, right? And this is what you mentioned, right? It's shock and awe, and it's happening across the nation, and we're having a hard time organizing. And that's the point, right? Because then half the country doesn't know what the other half of the country is doing. And yet, even with all of that happening, there are groups of organizers against ICE from different parts of the country who are all talking to each other, who are all making plans together. There are like moms groups who are emulating what the Chicago moms group did. And so even with all of that being said, it's still not working out in their favor. They can't solidify everything in a year, and that's why midterms are designed the way they are. It's literally why midterms come up between presidents.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm very hopeful and confident that Utah is more purple than it is red. And we needed a map that's not gerrymandered to help with that. And I think that people have no idea how much local government has control over our daily lives and an impact over our checkbooks and where we're taking our kids to be safe and watched. That I I'm hopeful they're going to get involved, especially after seeing what's been happening the past year and that they didn't vote for this, right? Then time to speak up in midterm. So I do think that we are going to see some changes. I do think we're going to flip this county council blue. And I think the biggest issue for Utah right now is the supermajority in the legislature, the local legislature. And until we really address that and can get some ground about stopping some of these bills, these horrific bills that they keep putting in place, we're going to continue to struggle. So there is a concerted effort from both the state and county level to put funding towards supporting candidates in these swing districts where we could make a huge impact if we grabbed a couple more blue seats.
I love that. I love anytime anyone reminds people of how much governing is getting done at the state and local level. I fucking love it. I love that you have a plan to get people into school board seats and at the state level and all of these other places, because you're right. That's where change starts, and that's how we build this momentum, and I love it. So we have one more segment, but before we do that, will you remind everyone where they can donate to your campaign and like where they can find you on socials?
Yes, absolutely. So my socials are at Tenille Taggart. You can find my website at votefortenille.com and you can donate there. There's a button. You can also look me up on ActBlue, Tenille Taggart. And yeah, I guess you just have to know how to spell my name, which we will put in the
It'll be in the show notes. I was trying to be cute about it. I was like 1T, two L's, one N. It's just two. There's so many T's in it, and it's got a great ring to it. I love it. You have a name that like is very catchy and like people will listen to, which I appreciate. So,
thank you.
Okay, so this is our little rapid fire segment, and same thing. We start with the same question and then we diverge. So, are you a morning or an evening person?
Evening.
Evening? Yeah. Not me, which is really problematic for the time period that we're recording this.
I know. I was like, oh no, we're both in our work time. That's oh man.
The time differences will fucking get us. Okay, so what was the last book that you read cover to cover?
Ooh, cover to cover. Probably The Financial Feminist.
That's interesting. I'm gonna write that one down.
It's really good. It's really good. Corey Dunlap is the author.
Okay. That's exciting. I need a new book. That's mostly why I ask the candidates this, honestly. People are like, I'm not reading. I'm running a campaign. And I'm like, okay, well, I was just hoping you'd give me a book recommendation, but okay. Is that your dog Muffin behind you?
This is my dog. This is my soul dog. She has passed on, but I painted this picture of her. Her name's Annie. And I would every single day when I was a kid get the newspaper and circle the dogs and be like, please, can we get this dog? And it wasn't until like I was 13, 14 years old that we got this little babe. It was actually Carl Malone's dog. My sister used to nanny for them and they needed to get rid of the dog. And so we were gifted her and she just was absolutely my soul dog, got me through some very difficult times of my life and in Utah and lasted till I think I was 29 or something. So she was with me for just so many important times in my life and so many growth periods. Now I have a different dog. He's down here sleeping.
His name is Winston. I said Muffin. I don't know why. Maybe I was just been looking at this with the little thing on there.
Look like a muffin.
Maybe she kind of looks like a muffin. I don't know.
Yeah. I used to dye her little mohawk. I cut it into a mohawk and I'd put it pink and purple. She was so good. She didn't even need training. She just knew what to do. She didn't need to be on a leash. My current dog is Winston. I adopted him.
You said it.
And he's very shy and very nervous. But I adopted him from Salt Lake County Animal Services, which is another thing that the county does. And oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I'm so passionate about adopt, don't shop.
Yeah.
I want to put that out there, and just what a little stud he is, and how much animals can change your life.
Honestly, it's like animals are one of the best parts of being a human. I love other humans, but like animals and like just why did we get them? Why did they like? Also, did you hear that raccoons are trying to domesticate themselves?
Oh, they're doing it themselves. Great.
Well, they're evolving. Their snouts are changing, and
Oh no.
the veterinarians think it's because they're trying to domesticate themselves.
So they can just get fed all the time. I would too.
Have you seen the like little handprint of them in the window where they're like, I'd be like, come in, just fucking get under the blanket, baby. It's fine. Okay. What is one thing you wished people knew about Salt Lake County or Salt Lake City?
Ooh, I think people think of it as Mormonville, and actually Mormons are a minority here in Salt Lake, and there is really great community here, and it does take a little bit to find. It's also extremely beautiful, and if you love nature, this is the place to come to.
This is another Utah-based question. Is there like a Utah food that Utah is known for?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Yeah, dirty sodas.
Dirty sodas? Is that what it's called?
Soda.
What is that?
Okay, so they don't drink coffee and tea, right? So they have to have their other drink, which is soda. And if you've ever watched Wives of Mormon Wives and things, that's like their big thing is they like to go get dirty sodas. And so you like squirt cream, or I don't even know. I don't think I've been to any of them, but they like to fill up their big mugs with it and drink that all day. Their sugary sodas. I would say, I mean, that's not a food, but
I mean,
off the top of my head, I don't know.
I ask everyone this now.
About that.
This is like a new thing I've been doing, and I just asked like someone running for Senate in Arkansas, and she was, I don't know, and I was like, I don't know.
I know.
It's getting to a point where I'm just hungry, and I'm starting to ask weird questions. This is our last question. What is your favorite thing about Salt Lake?
My favorite thing about Salt Lake is probably the art and creative community. It's so incredible here. And it's not just about art itself. It's about building community and forging relationships and building upon that and really connecting and going deeper. So that would be mine.
That's a perfect place to wrap up, because we kind of just looped it all back together, didn't we? This is why we need art.
Yeah, exactly. Preventative.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Thank you for following The Foolish Optimist. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, pretty much. We're going to be dropping new episodes every Wednesday, and you can watch the video episodes on YouTube. If you would like to, please give us a review, leave comments. You can also email us at thefoolishoptimistpodcast@gmail.com. If you see any really great candidates that I should be talking to, send them my way. Thank you.